The day we had a big chip pan fire at our house, which is a huge hypocrisy and an irony, considering especially my dad's background and mine. 3 people in the house, but the kitchen gets burnt to bits. Now, my dad went off to sea and used to work on the oil tankers for Esso. And part of the training program was becoming to work on oil tankers. They show you what happens when burning oil hits seawater by setting fire to a full drum, 40-gallon drum of oil, and have another drum below it full of cold water. Set it away, get it up to temperature, and then let it drop into the water, and it just explodes. The water just expands with the heat of the oil and explodes everywhere. It's devastating. So they're trained to deal with oil fires and any hazards on the oil tanker. Now, moving on to when my dad is married and me and my sister growing up, and I'm into my teens and stuff, and throughout my teens he's been teaching me how to deal with chip pan fires by setting them off on purpose, the nutter. You think I'm mad? My dad did more crazy shit. He used to set chip pan fires off on purpose so I'd be ready for the real thing one day. You're going to hear about it. Now, we used to have this really big chip pan, double handle drop-in basket. It used to have a glass lid. And you'd put too much oil in and heat it up on the hottest setting. Instead of like 4 or 5, he'd belt it up to 6. Practically smoking. Too many chips in the basket. He would just literally walk up to it and go and throw the basket in, and it would just spill over straight onto the hot electric ring. Boof! Up it would go. Quick, boy, get the towel. And I'm like right next to it, like 2 foot away to this fireball that he set off in the kitchen again, at least once a week. You know, and you're running for the taps and the tea towels. Turn everything down, you're looking at your dad. Every fucking week. So I was like, grandmaster at putting chip pan fires out when he staged them, of course. Never put one out for real, like, when you suddenly come across one. So this day it really happened, and that, in the whole irony and hypocrisy of it all, that despite both me and my dad being in the house, the whole place was good at by fire. I'd come back home one afternoon, or tea time, and I walked into the kitchen, and there's the chip pan ready, the stuff ready, and it's blue smoking away, and it's not very hot. I'll turn it down. And my mum and dad are only in the front room, so I'm straight in there, and they're watching the telly. Sat back on the sofa, the pair of them. And I say to Mum, I've just turned the chip pan down, it was smoking. All right, I was going to make some chips, do you want some? Oh, I'd love some, yeah. I'm just going in the back room, playing the computer. And she went like that. To get up, okay, I'm going to make some chips. And I disappeared, but what really happened, she just sat back down. Forgot all about the pan. Went back to whatever it was on the telly. So the time it took me to leave the room, go to the back room, power up my ZX Spectrum, load a game, which took about 5 minutes, and start playing it, and about 5 towards 10 minutes into it. And remember, I turned that chip pan down all that time ago, but it's still on, and it was still smoky hot. I'm partway through one of my favourite games, doing really well, when there's a huge smash sound of glass exploding, and the electricity gets cut in the house. Off, dead, computer dead, everything out. I could hear the switch just next to me on the other side of the wall where the power box was. Doof, off. What the fuck? And I looked out the window and looked across the back garden, and the sun's behind the house and it's casting the shadow of the house across the back garden. And we had a flat roof over the kitchen and the washrooms and the toilet. And there's the main body of the house, and clearly in the shadow cast across the grass, you could see a heat trail shimmer in the shadow. You know, so I had my Scooby-Doo moment, and it took a while, and put two and two together, glass breaking, electric off, heat shimmer off the kitchen, oh, chip pan. And I'm just, like when you see Superman on the telly and they do the bit where he does the fast walk, and he's just from A to B, like that was me. Through the back room, through the front room, with them two dopey parents of mine still sat there watching a blank TV, wondering what the sodding hell's going on, and the door's shut to the kitchen. And I'm in there like greased lightning, straight up to the door. And I just edge it open and take a fucking eyeball into the room. We've got hell in our kitchen, right? As if you were looking through the door, okay, and you're peeking through the door, you'd have seen a worktop, the cooker gap, then another worktop, the corner and the window and the sink and all of that. So the cooker's here. There's two wall units, double units either side of the cooker. The flames are up the middle between those units and across the ceiling. They're on fire. All around the worktops is on fire and down to the floor. Black smoke and shit going everywhere. And of course, I'm being careful up the door because the draft. Letting air into the fire, so I just crack the door ever so carefully. Be very careful. It's a fucking inferno. Shut the door. And I just span to my parents. Fire! Everybody out! Out the front door, I've got what it means. What do you mean fire? That's the fucking chip pan. Like 3 minutes ago, when the power went off. 10 minutes ago when I told you. The chip pan was on. It set fire to the kitchen. I was gonna get up. Too late now. We have to go. Now. We're out the front door. Panicking, trying not to panic. The only phone we have in the house is in the kitchen. On the landline. So you have to go back into the kitchen with the inferno to your right, billowing smoke over the ceiling. Okay. 5'7", and there's at least another 3 foot to the ceiling, and it's already coming down a couple. That's at least a couple of foot off the ceiling, we'll say, and it's already licking up the walls and belting smoke in. You come through the door with all that inferno going on and get to the phone in this corner, and there's windows and stuff. My dad raced into there with the smoke coming down. 999 on a rotary phone, not push button. 9. Come on! 9. It takes fucking ages. Emergency, which service? And he's like, down the phone at them, quick. They knew who, straight down our address. Me, in the meantime, Mum's outside. I've got the keys for Dad's office at the sewage works, which is like a quarter of a mile run. There and back. Ish. Maybe it's a quarter mile in total. I can't quite work out. It's a certain 100 yards. I'm trying to gauge it in my head. I suppose, 300 to 400 yard there and back. So it's a good little run. And when I belted down to his office with the key, got in and grabbed as many extinguishers as I could, knowing for a fact we needed CO2 foam, whatever, anything to damp it out. So I grabbed 2 CO2s, just little black ones like that I had, and then sprinted back with 2 full cylinders. I wasn't even a smoker, was I? Yes, I was, yeah. I was 18, 19, so I'd started smoking and I could tell. You know, I wasn't a heavy smoker, but I raced back. By the time I got back, I got the back door to the kitchen open and the far windows. He's kind of feeding the fire, but my dad's trying to get the smoke out because he's still on the sodding phone after I've just done that little marathon run. And by the time I burst into the room after pulling the pins and going like this with the 2 extinguishers towards the cooker, my dad is, the pair of us are now, the smoke's here, so that's like 4 foot less of usable and of oxygen. My dad's on the phone, like it's Franklin Lane, Durham. Can you come quickly, please? He's literally like that, and I'm like, come on. And this heat is so intense that literally from me to you is about, I'm standing a couple of meters away from the camera right now, ish, and that's about as close as I could get to that cooker inferno with 2 CO2s. I'm going in from the top, trying to get it at the base, but it's too late. The whole place gone. Pull my dad out, me with him. We've got black smoke round our mouths. He's had more inhalation than me, coughing like buggery. Mum's out the front on the sort of gravelly drive. The place has been fine, seemed like ages, but the brigade turns up. And they settle quickly and they're straight in there with the power hoses. And they get it sorted immediately. And I must admit, I was a bit callous to me mum at that moment because, the whole fucking thing was her fault to begin with. Not attending the chip pan when she said she was going to. They went in with the power hose and they start on the ceilings and work their way down and get the smoke down. They know pretty much where the source is. They've been informed. So they blast the place out and the hose hits some of the shelves at the back of the kitchen where my mum's got all her nice china and ornaments and cups and things. And, she's had for years. And the firemen jet the fuck out of it, and you can hear everything getting smashed to bits. Sadly, and she's crying into my dad. Oh, Malcolm! And you can hear all this fucking smashing going on, and you hear. I turn to my mum and go, "Well, that sounds expensive, doesn't it?" Oh, stop it, bastard! Didn't help. Ooh, that sounds expensive. But, oh my God, the devastation, the blackening of the room. And yes, we were insured and stuff, but we had to do a lot of the cleaning to get the thick of the oily soot out of that place. So and try and make it at least somewhat functional until it was fully restored. Under the insurance, of course. Fuck knows what my parents said to the insurance company, how it happened. Clearly a chip pan fire. Whose fault was it? Me China. Bless her. You'll not do that again, Mum. She never did. I think we got a proper fryer after that, like electric one with it's got a proper thermostat on rather than something you had to do manually and keep an eye on because it was a sodding death trap. Hey God. There you go. There was our dealings with a kitchen chip pan fire. My God.